Hey y'all, this is your girl Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen. To all of my returning subscribers, but if this is your first time joining me today, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way in, okay? Because you know you want to. So, without further ado, I am doing yet another free reading and what will probably be my final free reading for maybe a week or so. And the young lady that I am covering today, her name for all intents and purposes is going to be Mariah, okay? Mariah R. And so her letter reads, growing up, my mom was verbally and emotionally abusive. She would tear me down every day and make me feel worthless and also favor my brothers over me. She has done many things to sabotage me. I'm still holding on to my childhood trauma and the things that she has done. With my Scorpio sun and Aquarius moon, I always feel at odds with my mind and heart and feeling lonely, and no one really understands me. Will I ever be able to let go of my childhood abuse that I cannot let go of? So I'm glad you wrote me, ma'am, because first and foremost, I do sympathize with survivors of childhood abuse, be it verbal, emotional, sexual, in any other form, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So you were born on October 25th, 2001 at 5:44 a.m. in London, England. So this makes you a Scorpio sun, Aquarius moon, Libra ascendant. Cool. So in your first house or your ascendant, you have Venus here as well as Mercury. And the thing about just Libra ascendants in general, right? Whatever sign is on your ascendant, right? The planet that rules that sign creates kind of like this theme, the theme of your chart, the theme of your life, so to speak. And it's kind of like a double dose of that, especially with Venus sitting in its home sign of Libra. So, with Venus being your chart ruler, you have this kind of, I don't want to say karmic mission, but like kind of like a soul mission to establish balance. And in order to establish balance, a lot of times that means things have to be off balance. Do you see what I'm saying? You're going to experiment throughout your life, tweak certain things that aren't working, and you're gonna feel very off kilter at certain points in your life, and a lot of this can be brought on by experiences, even like a rough upbringing, and just various other things in life, just in general. Also, for Libra ascendants, Venus rules the first and the eighth house. Okay, as Taurus is in the eighth house. And it's very interesting because it creates a person who is naturally designed to undergo very transformative experiences in general. And with the eighth house dealing with death, birth, regeneration, things of that nature, you might even be predisposed to some of the darker parts of life. So something else that's very telling is the fact that your moon is in your fifth house of Aquarius, right? And it's conjoined to Neptune as well as Uranus. So this can produce a mother, particularly that Aquarian energy, your mother could have been a bully. And from, how you described it, I'm pretty sure she was. But that's attributed to that Aquarian energy. But this placement can also create mothers who are childish, dramatic, and over the top, and even competitive. So with your moon, Neptune, and Uranus trining your first house or your ascendant, it also has me wondering if maybe even your mom was jealous of you. Moon in Aquarius, particularly within the fifth house, can also create for an emotionally stoic mother, selfish. It creates a mom who is very distant. And it's kind of like this what do you call it? It's like almost like a contradiction because we have two polarizing energies at play. The fifth house is the natural ruler of Leo, right? Which deals with like love, compassion, and things of that nature. But then you have Aquarius, which is the literal opposite sign of Leo, and it deals with individuality. It deals with entitlement, even rebellion, and distance. And whereas that fifth house, that Leo energy would naturally create a mom who loves you. Aquarius, having Aquarius in this house could even produce a mom who tolerates you, okay? Because that's that Aquarian energy. And you might have found that your relationship with her lacked a lot of warmth, okay? Also, particularly with Neptune conjunct the moon, it can create a mom who could have potentially had a mental illness. And I'm wondering if there's some there because you also have Pisces ruling your sixth house of health and, everyday routine. And with health, it could also include mental health as well, And I mean, it could be interpreted as your mom experiencing some pretty deep mental health issues, but then it could also translate into you being very, like heavily affected, impacted by a lot of the things that are going on around you. So I would even question whether you would have any mental issues. But of course, I advise you to go seek professional help if you haven't already. But also, your Black Moon Lilith is actually in the sixth house too, which kind of intensifies this whole theme of even victimization by the mother. You know what I mean? Because that Pisces energy does deal with victimization. But you'll find that taking care of yourself is often the best remedy, especially with that sixth house. It's all about routine. It's all about your ability to really hold yourself and keep yourself together. And escapism might be something that's very common with you, especially with the planets in your fifth house, Neptune included, trining your ascendant. So, that's something to think about too, because that escapism is only going to get you so far. But also, too, taking it back to particularly the moon trining your ascendant can create somebody who is very impressionable. And I take it maybe from when you were young, you were easily manipulated. And the relationship with the mother is naturally just going to affect you very strongly, very deeply, which is why you describe that, this is really taking a toll on you, And like I said, being a Libra ascendant who creates, who has a strong need for balance, any unpleasant experiences in your environment can have a profound effect on you psychologically. But you being a Libra ascendant or having your moon trine your ascendant can also deal with your mom being your enemy, okay, as Libra deals with open enemies. And there seems to be this prevailing theme of lack of boundaries, which I think is going to be your biggest obstacle in getting over, or let me not say getting over, because you never really get over that, but in order to deal with your mother, right? Even as an adult, because you're still pretty young, but even, from adolescence up into full-blown adulthood, establishing boundaries is going to be the biggest thing, because especially with your moon conjoined to Neptune, Neptune is a planet that tends to lack boundaries, okay? And it tends to be very absorbent, all-consuming. And, with it aspecting your ascendant, it can create situations to where if you're not careful, especially because Neptune is so, it can make you very sensitive and intuitive, especially aspecting your first house. You can easily pick up on other people's vibes, other people's negative energy, and learning how to establish and create boundaries between yourself and your mother is going to be vital to your mental health and your mental well-being. And so, I mean, whatever that looks like for you, you know, we can do this, but we can't do that. You know, her tearing you down and being verbally abusive, nobody has the right to tear you down, to speak to you in a disrespectful manner. Mother, cousin, brother, cat, dog, mouse, it doesn't matter. So establishing those boundaries, first and foremost, is going to be detrimental. And another reason I say that is because with Moon, Neptune, Uranus trining your Venus and your Mercury in the first house, it can deal with the situation to where, like, over time, and I'm pretty sure you're probably already feeling this or experiencing this, it can lead to a lack or like a poor self-image. You know what I mean? And this could manifest in you feeling sorry for yourself. It can lead to even more serious problems down the road, such as addiction, eating disorders, a host of other different issues, especially with that Black Moon Lilith in your sixth house. Yeah. And at this point, it's vitally important to understand that everybody goes through stuff, right? And it's not to down your experiences, but getting caught up in self-victimization or victimizing yourself further than you've already been isn't going to do anything to help your situation. And so remembering to not let your past and negative behaviors affect you in a negative way is going to be very important too. Because this feeling of victimization and feeling very much paranoid and isolated from the collective experience is going to be the very thing that's going to keep you in the spot that you're in mentally. Now, your home life is further, I guess you can kind of see it, is further confirmed with your fourth house being in the sign of Capricorn. And you also have Mars here at the 28th degree of Capricorn. And that number 28 deals with family, okay? And Mars is a very combative planet in and of itself. It's the planet of war. So a lot of conflict within the home, a lot of conflict surrounding family. It can also reflect a very restrictive home life. Like I said, conflict ridden. And this is also reinforced as your Mars is squaring your sun. That sun in the second house of Scorpio. And that deals with a childhood that definitely scarred you physically, psychologically, damaging that self-esteem, that value, that self-worth. That's that sun, second house, Scorpio. And, you know, it can definitely be self-destructive. That's that second house energy with Scorpio in the second house also. But you can also express this pain. It can cause you to express the pain outwardly, and which is, I mean, if channeled correctly, you can actually use to your benefit by igniting the sense of competitiveness within you, fighting back. Okay, and fighting back doesn't have to look like physically fighting back, but I would even encourage you, as far as finding different ways to deal, you know, involve yourself in sports. You know, Mars is exalted in Capricorn because it's a very efficient kind of, Capricorn is a very efficient, goal-driven kind of sign, and Mars just naturally wants to do. It wants to go. It wants to get shit done. You know, so finding and redefining new ways of establishing your own self-worth is, I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but, you know, is a good way to take this challenging aspect and flipping it on its head, you know, and redefining the way you shape your ego, you know, or the redefining what it means for you to have a healthy ego, you know what I mean? So there's that. But then also Mars at the 28th degree of Capricorn in your fourth house can also deal with just like depression, And I'm pretty sure that you suffer from that also. I mean, once again, I would advise you to go see a professional. But you even mentioned that, you do feel alone. You do feel isolated. You do feel, like this is taking a toll on your psyche. And this could absolutely be also, attributed in part to this placement here. So I would absolutely advise you to go seek help. And finally, your lunar nodal placements, you are a Sagittarius South Node, with your South Node being in your third house. And it's also conjoined to your Pluto and Chiron. And so this kind of hits the nail on the head as it pertains to the issues at home, as that third house does deal with like your surroundings, your neighborhood, even kind of how you grew up, right? But it also deals with siblings. Also, sidebar, I meant to mention, you having your Mars in the fifth house also, or your moon, in your fifth house could also pose an issue as well, because moon in the fifth house can produce a mom who tends to favor her male children over her female children. And this is due to that Leo residue that's hanging around in that fifth house, where a lot of women, a lot of mothers, and even this is common with like Leo moms, or moms who have a lot of like Leo energy. They kind of thrive off of masculine energy, so to speak, and they kind of project that outwards onto their children. And it can manifest in them idealizing their sons and literally trashing their daughters, throwing their daughters to the wayside. So yeah, I thought I mentioned that. However, getting back to the South Node of Sagittarius in the third house, conjoined to your Pluto and Chiron. That Chiron is the wounded healer. So this is a very loaded South Node, and your South Node deals with past life experiences as well as early life experiences. And this could deal with issues within the home that could have included everything from sibling rivalry. So, once again, I believe you as far as her putting your brothers above you, but she could have even done that to kind of pit you guys against each other, or that could have been like a byproduct of that. There could have even been bullying. There's a big possibility that your behavior each time, especially if you ever were in conflict with your brothers, you were always to blame for any difficulties or any discrepancies within the home, which could have made you feel a little scapegoat in that respect. And you could have also felt very unsafe and uneasy as it regards to expressing your opinions. That third house deals with like everything about communication and expressing yourself. Also, with Sagittarius being here, I'm also wondering if you grew up in a very religious household, because that's something that I tend to find with Sagittarius in the third house, a very religious upbringing, or especially with Pluto here, where you felt whatever, even if it wasn't like the traditional religion, there was a belief system, or you grew up in a very like strict family to where you almost felt oppressed and even victimized by way of whatever belief system was present in the home. You guys could have been brainwashed to believe certain things or think a certain way. It definitely deals, especially with Chiron here, whatever it was very dysfunctional. And yeah, there's that. But on the opposing end with your North Node and Gemini in your ninth house, conjoined to your Saturn actually. So it's kind of going to be like a double-edged sword, because the only way to combat your childhood in this very turbulent past is embracing and activating this North Node energy of Gemini, which is kind of tricky because the ninth house is naturally ruled by Sagittarius. But then when you put this opposite sign Gemini here, it's one of those tricky lunar nodal placements. However, for you, you're going to have to, overcome these trauma or a lot of traumas that you've experienced with authority figures or your mother, even siblings. But in order to do so, you have to understand that, especially with Saturn here, because Saturn deals with lessons. It is a very karmic sign or a karmic planet. And a lot of these issues that you're dealing with your mom and your siblings are put in place to help you evolve on a spiritual level. Okay, as you're supposed to, in this lifetime, evolve into a very open minded person who isn't afraid to diversify your worldviews. Developing spiritually is also going to be equally important. But most of all, flexibility is what Gemini, especially Gemini in the ninth house, encompasses, is what you should aim for. However, your North Node of Gemini is at the 29th degree. So that's why I said it's a double-edged sword, especially conjoined to Saturn. That 29th degree is also known as the anoretic degree or the crisis degree, and it deals with lots of high-pressure situations. So you're going, even when you're trying to unlock this Gemini North Node energy, you're going to encounter things that are going to be discouraging, such as because the ninth house does represent college. So my initial suggestion to you would have been would still be to get out, go to college, right? Leave your old environment. Go meet new people, embark on new journeys and new experiences. However, with that 29th degree here and Saturn conjoined to this North Node, you're going to be challenged by way of maybe even delays with that Saturn. Perhaps you're not going to get into the college that you want to. Perhaps, you're going to encounter certain things that you feel is kind of going to obstruct your growth, right? But don't let that stop you. And also with this wound to your South Node in the third house, there's going to naturally be like a dip in your self-confidence or in the way that you express yourself, as stated before. But don't let that stop you, okay? Because being a Gemini North Node, communication is going to be your superpower. Connecting with other people is going to be your superpower. I don't know if you're a writer. The ninth house also deals with publishing, maybe after your Saturn return, because, life spanks that ass during that first Saturn return. So a little bit after that, which is like your early 30s, publishing, writing a book, working in media, translating your experiences to something that's very much to make it relatable to others or relating to other people on certain levels is something that could very much be a possibility for you. But don't stop, don't give up. It's all about, like I said, diversifying your experiences and understanding that what you've been through doesn't have to be all there is. And it's a whole wide world out there. Taking the things that you've already been through and applying them, just to life and learn, taking those lessons, taking it on the cheek and stride, that's all. That's that Gemini North Node. You would even make a great teacher, a great counselor, a great advisor, finding different ways to connect to other people and teach other people the way you've been, or by way of what you've been through is going to be very therapeutic. And the good news is that you are extremely young. So you have time, but I'm just here to let you know now, it ain't going to be no crystal stare. Okay. It's not going to be easy, but I'm sure you can do it. Okay. So I hope this resonated with you. And, be sure to practice unconditional self-love, you guys, as always, so that you can love others. And until next time,